Shields, thank you for being here. Thank you for being one of the faces of the 50 over 50 2024.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be in this company.
Well, you are an actor, you are an author, you are a founder, you're really a multi-hyphenate. And we could honestly spend hours talking about your accomplishments. You started working at a...
Do you really want to?
Well, there was a documentary, so I think we can skip ahead, because really you started working at 11 months, but now at 59, you're embarking on what I think might be some of the most exciting work of your career. Would you agree?
I would definitely say it's the most challenging, the most exciting, because I know the least about it. I am really having to just trust and know that what I don't know is just as important as what I do know, and to rely on people that I can go to for information to help educate me. I think what's exciting about it is it's so unknown. It is unlike any other, I've never had to make any of these decisions or even understand this type of an industry. So it's nerve-wracking at times, but you know, if you just have to keep going.
You have to keep going. Well, let's tell everyone what we're talking about. This month, you launched Commence. Tell us, what is Commence?
So during COVID, I started a online community. I just opened it up to sort of get to know people and really find out what women who were over 40, what they were experiencing. And it really was an online brand. It was a community, and we started talking to people and meeting them, and I wanted to hear what women my age were really experiencing, what they were feeling was happening in the beauty industry, how they felt they were being represented, what they felt was happening in this era of their lives. And inevitably, all of them started saying how upset they were, that they seemed to have been considered only menopause, that there was this feeling that once you hit a certain age, that all of a sudden you lose all your value and you don't have a place anymore. And then you look at where the marketing is and who's being marketed to. You know, where is the white space? What's really happening? You're either the young, you know, newly, you know, the beautiful young woman at the bar, you know, and gorgeous, and then, or you're sort of put into this world where you're in Depends and dentures, and not that that's a bad thing, but there is a whole bracket in the middle. And so I started just having this conversation, and very quickly I realized that women wanted problems solved. They wanted answers. We were all experiencing different problems, different challenges with our hair, with our scalp. There were things that weren't being really addressed. And when you hit a certain age, there's certain challenges that happen with your hair texture, not just, you know, there's the length of your hair, the hair loss. You know, a lot of times I'll look at my hair now and I'll say, oh, where it lost its lusciousness. You know, I look at my daughters and they've got just this beautiful hair. And then as a 59-year-old, I have different problems that my hair is thinning, the colors, the gray, all of these things. And we weren't really seeing any brands that were answering those problems and really trying to come up with issues that could help women with scalp health, really talk to them about what the best thing for their hair at this era of their life. So it came from talking to these people, and women were all over the world. And we would have these 40 over 40, 50 over 50 Zooms, and that's all people were doing during COVID. So it was this unified group of diverse, unbelievable women who were all saying, is this it? Am I over?
If I may ask, what did you say when these women told you that they felt discounted and invisible?
I said, I feel exactly the same. I expect to feel it in my industry, because if you're no longer the ingenue, you know, people just think you are Helen Mirren, and believe me, God bless that woman. But we don't. We're sort of not. We're forgotten about, and I didn't want it to be negative, and I didn't want it to have this poor me type of a feeling. What I wanted to do is talk to women and say, what are you feeling in your life, and how would you like it to be different, and how can we all start having this conversation? How can we start being proud of all that we've gone through? That we've lived this long, or that we've gone through this. Yes, there are things that are challenges, but why not look at that as, okay, it's still beauty, and why not feel good about it? Why not feel like we matter? And thank God for menopause and for what's happening in the world now, because now it's a extremely financial subject, and people are all sort of going forth with that. But in my opinion, we're not just that. And so all the women wanted to know about hair care, skin health, scalp health. I did not want to go into, I was not just, there's so many other people that have different skincare, and that wasn't exactly what I felt like I could make a difference with. So hair care and issues with hair follicles are smaller. We don't deal with the scalp health as in really taking care of what is at the root and what happens and how to address not just hair, but the actual root and the actual scalp. So one of the things I also said to our formulator, I said, I don't think that we should come out with a bunch of SKUs. I think we should find very specific hero products that I haven't found out there. Instant shampoo was a very, very important one. They usually call it dry shampoo with most brands. Predominantly, they are aerosol, they are benzene. Those are things that are harmful, that aren't healthy, that are not good for the environment, not good for a person's health. All of these things we had to sort of really break down. I wanted it to be plant-based. I realized that there is no instant shampoo that is on the market that also contains hyaluronic acid. And when we started to bring it to people to see it, and whether it was publications that needed to know what was happening and what our first products were, they couldn't believe that we had found a way to incorporate a hyaluronic acid in an instant shampoo. So those were the types of things that I knew that we just needed to know that these products were going to be real, because the efficacy of them is the most important thing. I've sold stuff of other people's my entire life. That's what I do. I hold it, they hire me, and that's it. I don't even have to truly, nowadays they're a little bit more conscious of that, but there were so many things that I wasn't aware of, that I wasn't taught. And so it was really important to me to say, our products the efficacy has to be the most important. I just have to be the conduit, because just because I'm in the position to bring attention to something doesn't mean, because I have hair, doesn't mean we're an expert. We have to prove ourselves, and the way to do it is to have products that actually make a difference.
So basically, you start this online community, beginning is now, during COVID, you get this feedback and you just dive into hair care research. You have also put some of your own money into this company, and you've also raised from outside investors. What was the fundraising process like?
Torture. Honestly, I have never been in that position. And what I was fascinated by was it was all mine. I'm the founder, I'm the CEO, I've put my own money, and we got to a point where we realized this is bigger than I even realized this quickly. And if we really wanted to exponentially grow, we were going to need to turn this into a real company. Because at first it was almost a feeling, and it was COVID, and we wanted communication and connection. We realized that we needed to deliver. I needed to deliver. So I met a woman who's my right arm. Her name's Carla DiBernardo, and the two of us in my kitchen just every day we've been working on this for 5 years. It was a matter of a lot of trial and error, putting together a team, finding people. When you're a startup, everybody's kind of we all have to do our best, and this is not corporate America, and I think fundraising itself was just a huge education. Mm-hmm. And what I was amazed at, I ended up at first probably being slightly intimidated, just because asking for money, there are ways to do it, and there's different ways that I didn't know to talk to VCs or to angel investors, et cetera. So there was a huge learning curve that I had to sort of fake it till I made it much of the time. And people would say, "Oh, just ask people you know, and it's family and friends." And I said, that's not gonna work at this. That pressure is not gonna necessarily help us grow the way we need it to grow. So we started really broadening ways to raise money. And what was amazing to me is people that, usually men, that just chose to tell me what I was doing wrong. And the need that was expressed to tell me why I was wrong. Mm. And discounting the 50 plus years that I have been pivoting and keeping going and staying in the public eye, to be in the public eye, but to just keep going and keep learning and growing and learning new skills and stepping out of my comfort zone. And there were those, mostly women, who were gracious and wonderful and said it's too early for them. That's not where they choose to, but meet this other person. And we just started really getting to know people and realizing the kind of people we wanted just even to be getting advice from. And those that started with all of this negativity, I remember one day saying, I'm going to apologize for this, but I also cannot not express this. I understand your need to tell me what I'm doing wrong. But in this particular case, I haven't asked for your advice. I've just asked for your money. And if you don't want, honestly, I don't want to waste your time if you don't want to give us money. But I have people that I really trust that are helping us in the company, and some are friends, some are people that just want to help but will never invest. It depends. But those who felt the need, it sounded like I was being rude, and I just tried to do it as graciously as I could. And it was so fascinating to me.
It's not rude, it's direct. And I'm curious, what was the reaction on the other side of the table when you said that?
There was a lot of scoffing. And and I was like, please, I am really not trying to shame anybody. Listen, your time is valuable. We are not at that level. That is fine. But thank you for your time. And it unsettled people. And, that was new for me, because I've always been much more of a team player, and you want everybody to be happy, and confrontation is something. And what I've learned the most is this is just business. It's actually not personal. And when you learn that, it's not a personal affront. It's just, we will continue to find those that believe in our mission and our vision and want to be a part of this startup. And we will grow, and we've already grown. And we will use what we have to keep moving forward. And we've pivoted, and we've made horrible mistakes, and we've learned from them, and we've spent money where we shouldn't have, but we didn't know, and we learned then. And so there's this the beauty of it to me was that if you find enough people who believe in not necessarily just easily giving up, which is easier for a lot of people, and it's a game. And when I realized that I didn't have to take it personally, that this type of attitude towards me wasn't about me. It truly was about these other entities, and that's their way of doing business, and that is their prerogative. So it was very important for me to not feel insulted, to not feel embarrassed or somehow less than. You know, I just was able to step away and say, okay, there's plenty out there. Let's go where we are wanted and where people appreciate it. And, you know, and it's interesting because we've already seen some of the people come back around. And, you know, I've just been...
Tails between their legs.
Well, or just wanting now to be involved. And listen, everything's a risk. It's all a risk for everybody all the time. And I don't take it personally. So I think that that's been a huge lesson for me in business.
You're taking it as a CEO.
I am taking it as a CEO. I never thought in my life that I would be that. I know I'm the founder. I have believed in the mission since day one. I have, you know, certain people that have really gone to the mat with me and for the brand and the company. My hope is that we grow exponentially so that we do have a kick-ass CEO who does that on a whole other level. But until then, we're still a startup. So, you know, I have no ego about it. I also need to maintain the Brooke Shields machine, which is a part of it. And people very early on were saying, oh, well, you're just gonna quit everything, you know, all the acting and all of the writing and all of these other things so that you can just be. I said, well, I find that interesting because without this brand that has been growing for over 58 years, we need to maintain that. We need to be mined and harnessed properly so that the people that are experts in these other aspects of running a company as a startup, and once we get into a Series A and B, you know, by the time we do, we still need the Brooke Shields piece. You know, it's a thing that needs to be upheld so that all of it is working towards the real purpose of this brand.
That in and of itself is a corporation, the Brooke Shields Corporation.
It is, and you know, I think I've fought it for a while because it just seemed, it didn't seem real to me. And now I've found myself in positions where I'm best used when there are places where I am best used and where there is value. And sometimes it's recognition, sometimes it's just history, sometimes it's access. You know, it's you use what access you have as long as you've got the right support for the whole team. And it always was interesting to me when people that were considering giving us money would say, oh, it's going to be great. This is going to be your whole thing. And I said, well, I'm never going to abandon this at all, but I also have to maintain this persona that has given me access to even having these conversations. You know, you have to really be honest about that. And to me, the products themselves have to speak for themselves. It's not called Brooke. It's not called the Brooke look or the band, whatever. You know, this is not, I am the conduit to it. But this brand has to live in perpetuity. It has to live and be and resonate on its own. And I'm the one that shepherds it, keeps pushing it, keeps building the attention to it. But it's actually not about me.
Interesting.
Ego-wise.
You're doing such interesting work, but we have a few questions that we ask everyone on the 50 over 50. And I want to start by asking the first, which is being over the age of 50 an advantage or disadvantage in your current work?
In my current work, once you are over a certain age, it's considered a disadvantage. I'm choosing to not look at it like that. I'm choosing to really believe in the experience that I've lived is making me a better performer, a better businesswoman. So I refuse to let it be a disadvantage, but Hollywood is not set up that way. So I'm constantly finding ways of maintaining what I believe is deserved opportunity and fighting for it.
You've been working since you were 11 months old. And we always ask people, when you were in your teens and your 20s, did you ever imagine your career over 50? So you've been working for so long. What did you think your career over 50 would look like back when you were 12 and 16?
When you're a kid, you think 50 is ancient. You're like, that's old, when you're 12 and 13. I naively just assumed that I would just forever work. I never, and part of it was helpful that I lived in New York because age was less of an issue in New York. It wasn't the way it is in Hollywood where there is a shelf life, So when I was a kid, I never really looked at what my career would be. I just was always so obsessed with having a family, being a mom, being married. But I just assumed I would keep working forever. And that's naive. But I refused to, when I wasn't wanted in one area, I found another outlet to work and stay creative. And, Broadway invited me in when nobody else wanted to make movies or anything with me. I mean, so I learned early how to pivot and stay creative.
You really have. And in your 20s, right after you had gone to college, which some people framed as a break, you went to Princeton, so that's quite the break. You were interviewed, and a man said to you, "Does it ever worry you that you've peaked already, that you've already had the best of your career?" Do you remember getting asked that?
I remember watching that again recently. I remember actually feeling bad for the person because it seemed like such a ridiculous thing to ask me, having just embarked on having had the 4 years that were blessed and unbelievable and exciting, and really believing I was going off into this new chapter, that it struck me as that was a ridiculous question for someone to ask. And I remember thinking, oh, I wonder what he's worried about. Like, he's probably worried about he's peaking. Like, I don't know what his issue is going to be, but I feel like I'm just starting. So I didn't get insulted. I just thought he must be going through something. Because what a ridiculous thing to ask somebody when they're like 21. Who asks that to someone? That you've peaked at 21. Like, maybe if you are an athlete, I'm sure there are different rules to that. And once you are of a certain age, maybe, it's that much more difficult. I don't doubt it. But I remember thinking, oh, that seems like a waste of a question because I'm just beginning and I don't even know what that means.
How would you answer that question today?
I'm going to forever peak. I'm going to keep peaking. Why should there be one peak? Why does everything then have to mean you're going downhill? Things get difficult. Things get easier. It's just a matter of, it's when we start to categorize it as your time's up, you've had a good run, it's over. Who decides that? And yes, the world is set up to want to champion youth and have youth and freshness and young, and that is great. But I'm not occupying that stage right now. But I am occupying an equally exciting, perhaps more empowered stage because I have excitement, belief, energy, and experience. All things most of those things I didn't truly have as a younger person. I just, should, you keep going, you do whatever you hope you're liked. I now come at things with such a different level of belief in myself and a fight. I'm not knocked over easily anymore. So I would say that I keep peaking.
You will forever be peaking.
Why not?
Brooke Shields, thank
And
you so
there's
much.
valleys, you know, and you go back up again.
There are, but you find a way to go back up. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you.